Welcome everybody to Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis, brought to you by RVMH Hall of Fame in Elkhart, Indiana. We are here in the Georgia World Congress Center, where the media just met with Ohio State first and then Notre Dame. Guys, we had access to all the players, all the coaches. These opportunities, like we had a couple weeks ago, are invaluable, with opportunities to talk about a variety of different things. John, I know that you wanted to. Let me start with Lauren Lando and the impact that he has had on this Notre Dame team that's playing their 16th game, still feeling very fresh and ready to go against Ohio State.
Yeah, and every single player I talked to, from Charles Jagasa to Eli Raridan to Mitch Evans to Riley Leonard, they all sung the praises of Lauren Lando, and they also all talked about not only what he's brought from a sports science standpoint, but his NFL understanding, his familiarity with a longer season. They're getting ready to play their 16th game, which until a couple of years ago was a full NFL regular season. And so they believe that's been a huge benefit. Charles Jagasa especially couldn't say enough good things about Lauren Lando, and staying in constant contact with him, staying in constant work with him, and that being why he could play last week after 377 days between his last game action to last week's action. Now, I asked him point blank, I said, how'd you feel the next day? He goes, oh my God, I was so sore. He said, but I'm good now. I feel fresh. I'm ready to go. I'll take whatever assignment they give me. We all expect that to be the left tackle. Eli Raridan saying, look, it takes some luck to stay healthy. This is the longest season of my life. He's been able to stay healthy all year for the first time. But he said there's no doubt the impact of Lauren Lando. I thought that was really telling. I know some people have talked about some of the injuries for Notre Dame, but when you're amongst the people, when you're amongst the team in informal settings like today, where you're one-on-one and you're asking them anything you want to, you get the truth from these guys, and these guys love and believe in Lauren Lando.
All three of us had an opportunity to speak with Charles Jagasa. We're so spread out, I don't think we all realized that we spoke with him, but when I did, Tim, and I want to throw it to you, I talked about Jagasa with him about having the confidence to move from right guard to left tackle, and he looked at me and he said, I'm confident whatever position I'm playing in whatever game at any time. So he's going to start at left tackle, and he's got quite a opportunity and challenge on his hands with good old number 44.
Well, Joe Rudolph mentioned, I talked to him about getting Jagasa working at right guard. Where'd that come from? He's like, we needed some help at right guard. But they had the time to bring him along slowly, so he was working at left tackle. Then an opportunity opened, well, let's work him at right guard. Sam Pendleton can work at center. Now he's got to switch back to left guard. And he said, for some guys, right and left is impossible, even guard. Some guys, guard tackle's impossible. He said for Charles Jagasa, neither one was, but they have been able to bring him along. He has not missed a ton of reps at left tackle just because he's been playing right guard. So now if he's in there at left tackle, they feel better. And one important thing Joe Rudolph said was, when Pendleton was forced to go into play against IU, he had not been repping much at backup right guard because of Jagasa. But Jagasa was not ready. He was repping at backup center. He had barely been there at all. So that might have been the challenge Pendleton saw. Now Pendleton is obviously concentrating, repping at both, and I'm guessing quite a bit of right guard. But remember, he is the backup center. It's important to note he has to rep there as well.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to speak with Mike Denbrock, and I asked him about, Notre Dame's a running football team. They've got to run the football to win this game. Well, what happens when you go up against a defensive line like Ohio State's and you can't run? Where do you turn? And he said, Notre Dame's been a zone scheme running team all year. He said you have to do some different things. One of the things that I mentioned when we were asked in a podcast about what are some of the different things that Notre Dame can do, I mentioned misdirection, and that was an area where Denbrock went as well.
Yeah, completely agree. They've got to find ways to exploit, and we talked about it on the pod the other day, they've got to find ways to exploit 33 and 44 and how much they can get upfield and what they can do with that, and some of that is moving left and right, and some of that is those guys getting upfield and you being able to hit something in the middle of the field, a little delayed release screen that can then, you've got a convoy of blockers out there. There's no question, though, that that's going to be a key to the game.
Tim, I also talked to Denbrock about, he's a grizzled veteran. I've known him for 3 tours of duty at Notre Dame, and he's been through it all. But you're coaching in a national championship game. Do you feel the pressure to be perfect, to be precise, to make sure that you're more creative than ever? And he said, you know what, I don't look at as pressure other than I want to give my players the best opportunity to succeed.
You know, it's really interesting you said that, because the very last conversation I had was with Dylan McCullough. It was about Aeneas Williams, and he said, look, that guy was ready to play at Texas A&M, but I had to go up to him and tell him, you're not playing today. I'm not going to have you lose your confidence for the season in this environment. Do you remember what happened in Louisville when Kyron Williams went in and dropped a pass? That was it for the most confident guy we're ever going to meet for a football season. I relayed that to McCullough. He was happy again that he did not play Aeneas Williams in that, but Dylan McCullough said, these guys now, that the confidence level Aeneas Williams has to execute everything, the confidence level they have now, that is the benefit of game 15 and 16. They are now grizzled. There is no freshman out there anymore. They are grizzled veterans. And bench a grizzled veteran for Mike Denbrock, he'll have something ready, but Jim Knowles' Mike Denbrock is worth the price of admission too, not just Chip Kelly and Al Golden.
No doubt about it. And speaking of confidence, I spoke with Al Golden, and I asked him if and when the time comes that Mike Mickens is named a defensive coordinator, what gives you the confidence that he'll be ready to handle that? And he just kind of shook his head and said nobody prepares more and knows more about the back end of the defense than Mike Mickens does. And Golden said, I rely on, it's not always me calling everything that we're going to do defensively. I will turn to Mike Mickens and say, what do we need to do on the back end? And he's confident that Mickens will make the right call.
And that's a natural segue to Leonard Moore. And I bring him up because I was talking to Mitch Evans, and I said, Mitch, it's one thing to say next man up. It's a hell of another thing to live next man up. How has this team done that? And he talked specifically about Leonard Moore, and he referenced Christian Gray, but the first person he gravitated to, even though he's the tight end, was Leonard Moore and what he's done, particularly since Ben Morrison went down, or BMO as he called him. I thought that was incredible, which led me to follow up and ask him, okay, Mitch, you've been here a really long time. How much has this roster changed, 1 through 85 or 1 through 90, the way you guys find some quality preferred walk-ons and things like that? He really raved about how much deeper and better prepared this Notre Dame team and program is than when he first got here. And I think here's how much you know a guy's being real when he says it is. He went out of his way to name like Chad Bowden and Zaire and Carter Allman and all these other people that are involved, and Matt Jensen and the people in personnel. When your regular players know about those guys and they didn't recruit Mitch Evans, I think that speaks volumes to how that group is seen in the program and to their impact in the program.
Lastly, we opened with Ohio State, and I have to say I was really impressed. I didn't ask them any questions, but I kept peeking in on questions. And the guy that really impressed me, not only in an interview room but on the field, and Tim, I want you to talk about this. Look, obviously Jeremiah Smith is a huge threat for Ohio State. I feel like I'm a little bit more concerned about Emeka Egbuka because of the matchup problems that he can create coming out of the slot. Smith can come out of the slot too.
Yeah.
This is a tall order for Notre Dame's pass coverage, which is one of the best in the country.
I'm equally concerned about those wide receivers because Egbuka is the one that beat Notre Dame last year. I mean, Egbuka had extended the most drives last year. He was also very good in the previous game. He is such a veteran to the point where I could not believe he came back again to college football, because remember when Brian Kelly mentioned Devontae Smith was like Jerry Rice in his routes? Yeah. Egbuka's not as talented as Devontae Smith, but he's got that veteran he's a pro football player playing out there. So that's a challenge for Christian Gray, Leonard Moore, Adon Schuler. Thankfully, Jordan Clark's seen a lot. Xavier Watts has seen a lot. It is the greatest challenge. And if not that, I finish my day talking to Rocco Spindler. I want to make sure I throw this in because we didn't mention him with the offensive lineman. He didn't say he could not have played if it was the old 6-day turnaround. He said it's huge how much more time I have had this time through. He never mentioned not playing, but he did say the extra days have really helped my ankle.
And I just wanted to real quickly say on Rocco Spindler, I watched him specifically walking around the World Congress Center floor here. No noticeable limp on Jeremiah Love either. So obviously those guys are still managing their rehab and recovery, but they look so much better than we saw them looking leading into the Penn State game.
Last thing about Egbuka, Tim. I mean, everybody talks about Jeremiah Smith and doesn't mention Egbuka. The first pass that he catches against Notre Dame will be his 200th career reception. I don't think he's going to get to 3,000 yards, but he's going to be knocking on doors. So keep an eye on number 2 as well as number 4 when Notre Dame takes on Ohio State on Monday. That's it from the Georgia World Congress Center. I'm Tim Priester. This has been, with Tim O'Malley and John Brice, this has been Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis.